Good evening. I call to order the February 21st, 2023, 5:30 Homeless Commission meeting. We are starting a little bit late. We're starting at about 5:37. Could we please do a roll call of the commissioners?
Chair Benjamin Strickland,
Here.
Vice Chair Stacy Feast. Absent, excused. Commissioner Leslie Mugan.
Here.
Commissioner Linda Cunningham.
Here.
Commissioner Gwen Nash.
Here. And we have quorum.
You do have quorum.
Very well. For the review of the agenda, if there are any items that arose during the 72-hour voting deadline, to the point of the meeting where a vote may be taken to add an item to the agenda with a 2/3 majority vote required. Are there any items that need to be discussed or added? Seeing none. Public comment for commissioners. Members of the public wishing to address the commission on matters within the jurisdiction of the city of Seaside, but not on this agenda, may do so for the public comment period for up to 3 minutes. Comments on specific agenda items are heard under that item. For public record, please state your name.
Chair Strickland, at this time, I do not see anyone from the public wishing to make a comment, so we may proceed.
Very well. Moving along to approval of minutes. Our item is approve the minutes from the November 15th, 2022 special meeting. Have commissioners had time to review the minutes? And they are included in this packet, I believe, right?
That's correct.
Is there any discussion on approval of the minutes from November 15th special meeting?
I move to approve the minutes from the November 15th, 2022 special meeting.
Very well. Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion to approve the minutes passes. Moving along to business items, explore submitted proposals from nonprofit agencies and organizations requesting funds from available budget of $9,500 to support food insecurity programs serving homeless individuals and families in Seaside. So I know that some of these we were going to look at, but then we weren't able to have a meeting last month. Derek, would you mind sharing with us what these agencies are?
Certainly, yes. So it's included in your packet, and what you should see in front of you as the first submitted proposal. This was actually submitted prior to the holiday in 2022. However, because we didn't have a meeting around the holiday times, just with logistics and not being able to gather everyone, I did communicate to this particular entity that we would consider this afterwards. And so this is for Greater Victory Temple Church. And they had submitted a request of $2,000. And at the time, they stated it was for holiday food baskets with ham and turkeys. However, and me reaching out to them, letting them know that we would not necessarily be able to support that activity, they still did say that anything, that we can provide is helpful to ongoing activities in terms of food insecurity.
Very well. So should we vote on each individual item as we go through? So we'd start with the Greater Victory Temple.
It certainly is up to the commission how you like to do it. We could, consider, there's a total of 3 proposals that out of 4 actual organizations, but 3 that are actually seeking funds. So we could, surely explore all 3, and then we can come to a decision if that's a preferable way. Would a commissioner like to give input?
I would prefer to hear about all of them in the total amount before we make decisions, would be my preference.
I agree.
Okay, so Greater Victory Temple is requesting a total amount of $2,000. And they are local. They do provide food insecurity activities to the Seaside community. And I know that they have been providing this service for several years. So this isn't a new entity or something that they're just starting. Okay, so then what you should have next is a proposal from Al and Friends. And the first sentence starts with, "My name is Justin Time Noren, and he's the secretary of the board." Have we located that one? Okay, and so as I looked through this and explored, I was unable to discern that there was a specific amount that they're requesting. But they did give a great description of what they do, who they are. I am aware of this organization, as I have with my church youth group gone and volunteered on the weekends and fed homeless individuals in a park. They do it kind of right there by Dennis the Menace, as well as across from that window by the Bay Area there in Monterey. And they serve anyone throughout the county that they can. And I know that sometimes this program goes beyond the food insecurity support, but the big one is this one, and they've been doing it at least 12 years, as it indicates in their proposal. So I think what we could do, right, is based off the other requests, which do have specific amounts, decide then if, we want to grant those, we could then decide whatever's left over, we provide to this. We could decide to hold off, reach out to them to see if we want to gather a specific amount. I think as we've kind of pushed this, out further and further, since we didn't meet in January, that we should consider moving forward with an offer.
Okay. And then I believe the third item is the veteran transition.
That's correct. And so the third and final organization that's actually requesting funds for the food insecurity RFP is the VTC, Veteran Transition Center. They did break it down within their proposal. The total amount that they are requesting is $6,800.
And it's just these three, right?
Yes, that's correct. There was I want to say informational kind of document provided from an agency called Do Gooder. Now, they're not established at Seaside. They don't provide any services yet. However, they are, I guess, a national entity that does try to get connected with communities, establish partnerships, and they'll build upon those as it relates to providing some form of services, supports related to lack of food, food insecurity along those lines. They wanted us to primarily just know who they are and then consider if at some point down the road we want to establish a partnership in some way. So for now, as it relates to the RFP, it's not relevant to us deciding how to allocate the current funding.
Okay. Let's begin the discussion with Greater Victory Temple. So I see an approval here for $2,000. Is there any discussion on our first item, or how would commissioners like to proceed?
Derek, how much money do we have available still?
The total that we have is 9,500, so 9,500.
Okay, and so the total that's been requested is 8,800. Is that
Between the
correct?
two that we know
No.
about, yes, that's correct.
So that leaves $700.
Right,
remaining.
so we might want to consider, at least with the larger amounts, maybe slightly less to make it
Slightly.
more,
Yeah.
equal to, provide for all three organizations.
I had a question. And this just skips ahead, and I hope when I get done with it, you understand why I'm asking. The Veterans Transition Center did a breakdown of that 6,800. And I just wanted to point out 3,300 of that is salary, and another 300 is utilities and maintenance. And I didn't know if we could only pay for food, or if we could, you have to have a refrigerator to keep food in, to supply food, and you need people, but I just didn't know what our, if that would be a problem, if somebody were to look at, if we gave them the whole thing and I'd say, well, this didn't cover food. So I just wanted to, point that out. I guess my question is, can we cover that too? Are we constrained?
As far as I understand, the funding within the RFP, we didn't specify that it had to be just for food, as long as the total amount is used to support activities that are related to food insecurity and providing that, the food to the, individuals in need. Because for instance, what we've provided, thus far, I know to, Pastor Luss's program, while it broke down in certain ways how they would use it, I know some of it was to help support, the gas for the vehicles and things like that go and pick up supplies and do the things they need. And I think it would be hard to say it can only go towards food, knowing that there are other supports to making sure that food is accessible to individuals, right?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we weren't breaking any.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, certainly.
Can I ask a question about the VTC proposal? So is the food insecurity program donation RFP monthly project budget? I appreciate all the detail, but I don't see where they've actually requested that. Do you believe that that's sort of what they had planned, or because they produced their monthly budget? I don't see, as part of this proposal, we are requesting, coverage of our monthly project budget or something like that. I may just be reading this without proper context. I think that's reasonable. I'm just asking. I just don't see a statement that says that.
I think this is an opportunity to learn in our future requests that we're really clear that they state
Sure.
a specific
Yeah.
amount. Just as a learning experience.
Yeah, no, I would, yes, and so your question, I think Commissioner Mugen is valid, and then I agree with Commissioner Cunningham that, this being kind of the first endeavor that, this commission is taking on of this sort, it is, a learning kind of curve that we're trying to establish, like how specific do we want to be when we do put out, RFPs such as this? What kind of information do we really want to have, even in more detail? Because ours, it was kind of general before, in the RFP as to what they needed to provide. And so, if you would, like that kind of stuff, we can consider that in the future. I think in this case, since we didn't really, provide that in the official RFP and request that, it's really up to the commission from what's in front of us to determine, is it enough to move on? And it is commission's decision. So, yeah.
And I have a suggestion in light of the statement, is if we look at it in that direction, then the items that they have noted that are food related, they equivalent of $3,200 difference, where the other portion is for staff or the maintenance portion, where it would allow to give the other entity something in the process too. So that's something to consider.
It's hard to judge the reach of all these organizations. I mean, they seem like they're doing such amazing work, but it's hard to be like, okay, is $2,000 here fair compared to $6,800 here fair? Like, that's hard to judge. I think we should just make a motion and see what we think is.
And-
I like what Gwen was saying about maybe we reduce the one to give to the other.
Yeah.
Still give something to everyone.
Yeah, all right, to make it to, at least for this time, and then we can be more specific, for future RFPs as we like, so that per the proposal, we can really make that determination. Do we give all of the funds? Do we only give portions, et cetera? It's the commission's certainly the commission's decision, of course, I'm about how far can we spread it and as to many organizations as possible. And it's, the partnerships, that we can build with this, those are huge and we far reaching, as it relates to the work that this commission wants to do. So if we can show that we're supporting all of the organizations to some degree, with the reasonable amounts. And we have to remember too, part of the RP does state within 90 days or so that, they will come back and give, some kind of a report to the commission. That at that time, that could help us understand, as you're saying, more how far reaching are these organizations, how many do they actually serve, have a better understanding clearly of how their food insecurity programs operate, so that we know in the future, should we, choose this again, as part of the budget, we'll have a better understanding, as I'm sure some of the same organizations will reach out again.
My concern with the monthly projected budget is it does look like it's being presented as a monthly budget. So if our commission votes to give some of these funds to help them with their monthly budget, what's going to happen with their organization the following month? I'm not sure that we're able to give on a monthly basis to help them out. This is more like we're helping out organizations as the year goes on, and I guess we want to have a meaningful impact with the donation that we would make. But that is the main concern that I do see here.
Certainly, and I do believe the RFP, and it maybe there needs to be a specific statement that even says that, if it wasn't clear enough, that this is a one-time, donation from the commission as it relates to their, food insecurity activities, that me maybe needing to make that clear in the RFP, knowing that, yes, there are limitations to the budget and how much, yes, the commission can provide. And certainly right now, it's not built to be able to provide monthly support,
Are we, just as a point, could we decide to give, or we could decide to split what we have evenly amongst these three organizations? I mean, they asked for 2,000, but I'm sure they could do 3. And then that would be like even Stevens, not judging anybody by what they're doing. And that would be 3,166 and a couple little pennies, maybe somebody got an extra $1. And then I will round up for somebody. Or another way we could do it is everybody, the Greater Victory Temple gets 3,000, Al and Friends get 3,000, and the Veterans Transition Center gets 3,500. I mean, that would cover their entire food, which was 3,200, and it's a little bit more. It won't cover the whole month budget, but they've been out there. It seems like they, this would benefit of them. That would just be another way to split the money up. I don't know what, I'm assuming we could make those choices. I don't know.
Yes, what I like about that is those are easy amounts to request to the city, right? Versus this and some amount of change is right. That'd be that's challenging to break down anyways, right? And I also like kind of the considering being equitable at how, choose to give out the money.
I think you should make a motion, Linda.
Okay, I make a motion that we agree all three of these organizations are worthy, and that we would give 3,000 to Greater Victory Temple, 3,500 to the Veterans Transition Center, and 3,000 to Al and Friends Sunday Breakfast.
I second. Oh, can I wait? Is that okay? Do I say I second, or do we have to approve the motion first? Oh, okay.
And then we would open it up to discussion, and then we would open it up to public comment. So I'll chime in on discussion, and I guess it's more of a question. So when does our fiscal year end as far as our budget is concerned for food insecurities? Like when does that end? And is there a possibility that any more organizations would submit an application for funds.
So the fiscal year ends in June, and so July starts the new fiscal year. However, this is an RFP, right? And so RFPs have deadlines. So it's closed, meaning for other organizations to try to submit a proposal, technically as it relates to the rules of the RFP, they can't anyways. Right, yeah. So it's already, the RFP is already closed, if that makes sense. Because we remember we had it open once, and then we actually extended it because we didn't end up using all the funds. But at this point, you'd have to then make a motion to want to reopen the whole RFP again and all of that. And so I think where we are at this point in the year, knowing that, you know, our meetings are every other month, and considering, will we have the time and the capacity to reopen this and re-explore this, knowing we have some other large items on the work plan that we want to try to get to. You know, it's still the commission's decision, but, you know, just as a point of guidance, considering, you know, we've already opened it twice, that I think you know, we can get some good work done with, you know, these organizations. And then this is, as we are establishing that, we're all kind of learning and growing and figuring out how to navigate this process. For next year, we can determine, do we want to have it as an ongoing thing versus a, you know, again, a limited time thing, et cetera, right?
Is there any further discussion on the members of the public wishing to address this agenda item of voting to approve food insecurities fund for $3,000 for Greater Victory Temple Church, $3,000 for Veterans Transition Center, and $3,000 for Allen Friends. Members of the public wishing to address this item, you may do so for up to 3 minutes. Seeing none, all in favor of approving the $3,000 for Greater Victory Temple, $3,000 for Allen Friends, and $3,000 for Veterans Transition Center, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Oh, excuse me. So what were the totals again? It was
3,500 for the Veterans Transition Center and 3,000 for Allen Friends.
okay. So all in favor for $3,500 for Veterans Transition Center, $3,000 for Allen Friends, and $3,000 for Greater Victory Temple Church, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Moving along to agenda item B, discuss plans to host a community listening session on the state of homelessness in the city of Seaside in fiscal year 2022-2023.
So in your packets there as well, Commissioner Cunningham did put together a document to help you know, kind of organize and discuss the logistics around what this listening session would look like.
I'm looking for my packet, even though I have my own printed copy. I wanted to make sure I was looking at what you guys are looking at. Is it at the back? It's the last.
Yeah.
Okay, last 2 pages. I'm going to start with the last page first. And the last page, I started with Commissioner Mugen's spreadsheet of just trying to get a list of organizations. Those were organizations that we gave gift cards to, holiday stuff. So that would be, and so this was just a list of those organizations, the ones that applied for our food insecurity. And then on the flip side is the same list of organizations, and then just a way to kind of track what they do. Are you doing food? Are you doing clothing? Are you doing shelter? Who's doing what? I kind of have to know who does what. I thought that was important information. I wanted to know who did what. I didn't know if it was important to track. Are you working with adults? Are you working with children, women, men? Are you helping pets? And this was just some information. We can expand the spreadsheet as we wanted to track more, but I thought we should get some information about these people. So when we're trying to say we have backpacks or we want to buy jackets. Okay, well, who needs jackets? I mean, who's working on getting clothing? So it was just kind of like the beginning of a database of information. So the previous page is what I was working on for the listening session. And I wrote myself a note because I am really got some ADD and it feels like as I age, it's getting worse. Maybe I'm just noticing it more, but I tried to remind myself to focus on our annual plan. So I got our little annual plan out. I have it in my little binder and we looked at our mission statement to plan, advocate, support, and collaborate with those affected by homelessness in the organizations that serve them. Annual plan item used as a guide. So I also tried to note in here which items from our annual plan drove what I was writing down that I thought we'd need to know at the listening session. So I wrote down in my mind the who, what, where, and when of the listening session before getting to the details of the session. What was kind of the goal? And for me, and this is when I was doing it with the other commissioners, so I had wrote down what I thought or how I felt this. At the end, I would like to have a list of actionable items for the committee that supports the organizations assisting the homeless and preventing homelessness in Seaside. And I thought this list of actionable items could help us when we do our annual plans, we put our annual budget together, because we know what these organizations are asking us to do to help them do what they already are doing, but better, or whatever. Who this was, well, who? Hence the spreadsheet. I like spreadsheets, I put a spreadsheet together. I'd like it to be a living document that can continue with this group and we can add to it as we find new groups and new groups come around. And I wasn't sure if we would be inviting government organizations, like, would we want to hear from the Seaside PD of what we could do to help them? I think they're doing a lot of interaction with homeless people, possibly. Same with the fire department. I get these emails about these meetings the county is doing. I can't attend them, but there's this CDAC group. Do we want to try to work with these government? I mean, is part of our listening session listening to these big government organizations? Or do we want to just try to listen to the groups like we have on our list? Maybe it's two different sessions. Maybe we want to go to the county and say, hey, help us help better. Maybe we're missing out on how the county could help us be better. I don't know. Where I thought the Oldmeyer Center might be a great location. Maybe there's a different location. There's the building over by the baseball park on Co over by Seaside Highlands. I don't know. Actually, I didn't think of that. Well, I will remember to add it to my list. Place on Co, which I've been to a couple times for events. Duration, do we want this to be an 8-hour, like hardcore working session? Is it a less than that? I don't want every one of these organizations to come and tell us everything they're doing, which is, I think I have somewhere on here. Maybe we could create, well, we'll get to that. Oh, here it is. I'm thinking we could create a form or a questionnaire to try to give those organizations, are you working with kids? Do you do pets? Do you do families? Are you shelter? Are you clothing? Maybe we could come up with a form so we can collect some basic information consistent for all of them so we can have it as like a resource. I didn't know if we can group these organizations: meals, place to sleep, housing, rental assistance. Did we want to find out from these groups what's your funding source? So we know if they're part of like a national, like Salvation Army, clearly a much bigger funding source because there's a national organization behind it, versus Allen Friends. I thought it would be good to do this before we work on next year's annual plan. So if we felt like there was funding that we could maybe ask the city for more funding, we'd want to do that before we submit our budget for next year, or we're a year behind. And then it looks like on the next page, it says page 3, it says, and on page 3, I believe is the page 3 of this of our mission of our annual plan, identify partnerships with the city and other communities to achieve goals, any blah, blah, blah. And I was hoping at the end of this session, we would have identified these people that we want to be in partnership with. Page 4 says prepare our annual report for the city. And I said, as a result of the listening session, I hope that we could, you know, do these things that are on page 4. You guys can read all the details yourself. Page 5, items B and C. Page 5, they must have been long ones. I didn't put them in there. Engage, amplify, and collaborate with organizations. C, invite all voices to the table. Item C would, page 6, item D, the mobile hygiene unit. This would, I thought, would be a great time at the listening session to find out who's interested in this, who's gonna ensure it's being used, or would want to be part of it. The mobile hygiene station still kind of, I'm still not 100% clear on how that would work. And I think we also had an item D, lockers, phone charging stations. You know, I know the Seaside High School students gave us a mobile charging device that they built. I don't know where it is. It used to be down at the place on Broadway. Oh, that would be another place we could meet at the planning. And then I just broke down the funds that we had available. And so that's kind of just where I am on the listening session. It's not super solid, still pretty vague, other than well, my thoughts on the first page.
I think this is an excellent framework, and I think you did a great job on this. And I'm excited about where we can go with this. And I guess I'm wondering, so how soon, and I guess I'm asking this to the commission and staff, how soon could we feasibly put on this community listening session on homelessness?
So in terms of meetings left for the commission, after beyond this one and before the new fiscal year, since we're meeting every other month, you have March's meeting and then you have May's meeting. And then July would be into the new fiscal year.
When does the report have, when do we have to have our work plan ready for next budget cycle?
I'll have to get back to you on that. Because I know that when you guys worked that out last time, you were still under Chief Gutierrez's support and leadership. And so I'll find that information out and I'll send out correspondence to the entire commission.
Would this be a separate meeting from one of our meetings? Would this be like a special? I assume this is going to be a special meeting.
Yeah, will probably have to be a special meeting, but definitely will need to be discussed in a public format as it relates to designing your next work plan and everything.
Can I ask a question? How much money did we put aside for the listening session? Do you know?
Yes, I do. I have it. Yep.
Yeah.
In the work plan here. I'm pulling it up right now. Okay, so for the listening session, so as it actually breaks down, it says $2,500 for our presentations for homelessness solutions. But then there's also another $2,500 that supports or helps to facilitate a minimum of one community homeless outreach forum. I would say those probably can be combined as they are, both supporting similar types of, activities, right? Presentations for homeless solutions, in an outreach forum kind of setting. So 5,000, altogether. And this is considering if we have consultants, paying for travel expenditures, if we need to advertise or market anything, it shouldn't be a problem with securing a facility without any need to pay for it as it's a city entity. But those are, 5,000.
I'm just going to ask a question. So Linda, I think this is great. Thank you for doing this. And I really liked your idea of a survey. I think that's an excellent idea. And I'm wondering if we should do a survey first and get, because a lot of the information you want to collect, kind of what are you doing and how are you doing, and the actions that this commission can take could probably come through in a survey rather than bringing these folks together. And then I think maybe we spin off from a survey and the results of a survey to kind of figure out where we should target potentially the money. I'm just wondering if it's the right thing to do right now. That's all. I'm just wondering out loud. So given my thoughts.
Well, I like your thoughts, everything that she said as well, but I don't know, when you send paper emails, I don't know how we would do that. But when we can come together collaboratively and to have a strategy to fulfill what you're saying, leave there with the data, in other words. Then we can just move on to the next step with it versus wondering where we're going with it, meaning the answers that we want to have from the survey, let's leave there with it. And that we structure the listening session and everything where it's allowing us to retrieve everything that we need right there on the spot with those that are interested in receiving or facilitating or volunteering, whatever we, come out of it. We leave them with what we want as good as possible.
Did we have like, maybe we start with, do we have agreement? Like, I wanted to leave this with a list of actionable items that they are asking us to do to help them. Does that sound like the goal of this list? That's for me what I thought the goal of the listening session is, but maybe there's a different goal.
I think that's,
Or an additional goal beyond, meeting and starting to have a relationship, build a relationship and trust and communication. Clearly, but I'm not sure. I mean,
Well, I think we've always been struggling with a purpose, right? I mean, I think we all want to try to do all the right thing, but I don't know the purpose of 2 hours or whatever it would be with people. I'm just not sure we're going to reach what it is you want to reach. I just don't, I mean, I don't know. I know we've had presentations from organizations before. I know we've made lots of phone calls, in the last 6 months to various organizations to ask them. We've got an RFP. We're building relationships in a different way. The one thing that keeps hitting me is that we've been doing a lot of thinking about how we define problems in my organization and validating problems. And the way that we do that is talking to the folks most proximate to the problem. And it feels like we're missing something. Talking to the organizations that serve the homeless is interesting, but I would rather us talk to the homeless themselves and get from them their feedback if that's something we could set up, because I think we'll learn things that we don't know. And that would actually help structure us to become more actionable potentially. Anyway, I just wanted to put it out there because I feel like, to me, that we're missing that component. When I always thought about listening, I want to listen to the folks who are in the middle of this and what kind of support they're looking for. But maybe that's already happening and we just don't know that. And maybe we should gather feedback and information from that.
I just wasn't sure what we could do to help individual homeless people. I like, how can our committee help individual homeless people, where I understand if we can help an organization that's already helping, I can understand that. I'm just, maybe it's just 2 sessions. Maybe it's not one, it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Sure.
They kind of have different goals. So maybe it should be 2 different sessions. I just don't know how, what we can do as a committee that meets every other month, 6 times a year, do to help actually individual people who are homeless.
Understood. And I think for me, it was more hearing themes and hearing themes across a variety of folks and understanding what those themes are and those key topics are. I think that's where my head was. I will say that from the conversations I had with people for the work we did on the holiday giving, there was one key theme that came out consistently from the organizations, which is we need to be able to house people. right? When there's an emergency, we need to be able to give people a night at a hotel or 2 nights at a hotel or 10 nights at a hotel. So we know we're hearing things on the ground. I don't know, maybe we need to put the information together in a different way. I'm not sure.
Well, in the last year's annual budget, we did not have any like housing voucher funding, so maybe that is something that we need to consider next year. And when does, you don't know when our budget's due?
No, but I'll know before the end of this week and I'll inform you. Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for that question today, but I'll know and I'll definitely get that information
That
too.
goes back to my request for a calendar. I think we need a calendar to know when something's due so we can work backwards to when we need to start working on it. We don't want to know the
Yes.
month before the budget's due that.
Certainly, yeah, certainly.
Then I'd like to ask the question, in light of what Leslie was asking, talking to the homeless themselves. I would like, other than the fact that I know that I go out there and I'm actually talking and interfacing with people, how would we as a committee in the listening session create that type of environment where people that are actually homeless would show up?
Right.
No, I didn't know if it was something that you may have thought of. So therefore, it looks like it's still going to come through the agencies that actually interface and figuring out how we could make that type of platform happen should we decide to go that way.
And in my history, just doing this work and as it relates to working with homeless populations, I've seen communities both offer some form of it's almost like a resource fair, but it was gathering all the entities that do provide some form of support or service to homeless individuals or willing to offer their services pro bono in a moment. So literally this was in a large area, indoor and outdoor, right? And they had entities giving out food, signing up, individuals to their programming. They were giving out free haircuts. They were doing pet inspections. They were giving out free bike and doing bike repairs. They were, right? And so it was everything possible related to the survival for individuals who were unhoused that they did in this community as a giant fair. So that was one way that they were able to gather some of the homeless. And what I noticed was organizations that had the capacity to provide transportation with vans and things like that went out in the community and were able to gather individuals and bring them to this location. Another way is it relates to, I think, some of our current work, because we do outreach in the community, which means we directly engage with the homeless population, is maybe having a survey when we go out, and being able to in real time, as long as they're open and willing, we can start gathering information, that way as well, so that we're getting the direct, feedback from, like you said, those, proximate to the actual situation, those who are in need of the help themselves, who are best inform us as to what they need, right? So that could be a way to engage them that's less, requiring less, planning and et cetera to try to put together, at least to reach that group. And then as it relates to the organizations who would be a little bit, more manageable and getting together for a listening session, that's how we gather the information from those entities per se.
I think that's a good
I
idea.
love the idea of a resource fair, bringing them together. And, yeah.
We do the listening thing or the direct engagement,
Well, I'm wondering if a resource fair, if it brought folks together, then we could actually be there on the grounds and do some empathy interviews, like asking some questions and just listening, right? And gathering information that way, as well as offering the services and potentially talking to the organizations that are there offering their services. Okay, so we're expecting to have this much budget next year. What are the things that you're looking for? Where can we actually assist you? And so then it's not so much a listening, it's actually an active fair.
Sure, right. And there may be a way with the budget that we have then to use it to help put on that fair.
Absolutely.
The commission provides certain supports and things as well. acquiring, if we want to say, bring in food, to be able to provide to the homeless, individuals, things of that nature. I'm big on fairs and stuff because that is now, that's what we do, right? It's like, that is one of the major activities that brings people together, that helps communities get informed. And I think it's a shift as we're, coming out of the pandemic and trying to figure out a sense of community again. Instead of doing the silos and the stuff where this organization is doing some work over here, I know that when I put on resource fairs and organizations get together and they talk, they find it valuable, because one organization over here says, oh, I didn't realize you did that. And that's just supplemental to what I'm already doing. And if we combine their stuff, we would provide a larger support or a larger service that is more beneficial and effective. Right. And so it's the networking amongst the community partners, as well as, yes, bringing those directly in need also together, helping them feel like a part of the community, in my opinion, as well. Right. And then allowing for the opportunity, yes, to interface, to network, to start talking, to start gathering information, and seemingly in a way that's less.
Not threatening.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's like a listening and action fair. So we get action items, we get to listen, we get people together, they actually get services at that day, essentially.
And the thing about fairs like that they're not so challenging to put on, because not one single entity has to do everything, right? Each group brings their own resource table, their own stuff they want to provide, right? That's what I like about those things too, is, everybody's working together to put on the whole, activity. And so it's a suggestion, it's an idea.
Sorry.
I think I'd like Commissioner Cunningham definitely to chime in, only because you're taking a lead on this, and I don't want us to feel like we're stepping on toes or.
If this is turning into some kind of fair where somehow we're gonna, I don't know, bus these people to this location, I don't know how they're gonna get to this location. That's not really what I took on when I took this on. I wanted to do a listening session to meet our mission statement with what I thought our little commission was capable of doing, which is, I thought we could listen to the organizations that are actually working with people and help them do what they're doing better, and find out from them how we can support them. I'm willing to do that. This other thing, I'm sorry, I can't take that on.
Okay, no, I completely understand, right? No one would be expecting you to organize it, right, but. Sure. Mhm. Okay. Yeah. That, which is. Right, yeah, and so it was just a proposed idea, and if it's, yeah. Sure, right. Okay. So for the purposes, I think, of moving forward, at least then we should figure out what the commission's agreeable to wanting to do. Even if we don't have all the logistics figured out today, right? If then the listening session in the way you're proposing is what the commission like to do, we should at least come to that conclusion so that we can start really making more meaningful efforts to actually put it together, right? So I will leave it to the commission. And perhaps that could be something to put towards next year's activity. We, in the work plan and the budget, and we figured that.
Do something like that last year. I think it was.
So our program specifically did do a resource fair for the community. It wasn't specified to just a particular population as much as it was a general, okay, these are programs that work in the realm of social work, social service, et cetera, that in some way are there to help people meet their needs in some way. And so, yeah, and we did have 30 different organizations across the county here. So it was quite a great endeavor that, we took on to do that. And that's why resource fairs, I just thought about it as something that could be beneficial. We are planning on doing that anyways. This time it'll be a community open house in partnership with our first responders, who are some of our bigger partnerships as it relates to our mobile crisis work. But it's going to be comprised of, similar entities such as ourselves, and there will definitely be entities that work with homeless, population.
And when are you guys doing that?
And that will take place, in, let's see. June 10th, Saturday, June 10th.
And Derek, I went to that event. I had just a few minutes to spend there. Unfortunately, I would have loved to spend more time because there were so many organizations. But it's my memory that there were more people there working the tables than people actually came to visit.
Yes.
Which was disappointing, clearly, because everybody came out. There was lots of information. I mean, it just is really hard to get people to, how do you?
Yeah, well, that was.
Advertise, how to market, how do you get
Sure.
people-
Well, that's the difference with that one was because it was kind of the first one, and while it was advertised, probably not as much as we wanted it to. And then we realized the weekend we put it on, there were like 4 other events that same day. So that's what it was. We were literally competing across the city with several other events. And, when you have events that are more, fun, sports, youth sports things and other things, they're probably going to attend those over, resource fair. And so we learned some things and how to do it, how to market it better, et cetera. And we hope that this year, again, because we also have, the partnerships we didn't have when it was just us and we were brand new. So all of those things, I think, hopefully we will have overcome for this year's, fair, and it will be definitely well attended.
Real quick, so there is a motion on the table right now to accept the discussed plans for the listening session with Commissioner Cunningham's lead. So there's a motion, and then it was seconded. So I just wanted to bring it back to discussion. Commissioner Cunningham, did you want to clarify, I guess, how you want to go forward with the listening session and maybe when you would like to have it?
Well, I will work on the questionnaire. Sounds like people were okay with the questionnaire. I did like the idea of sending it out early. So maybe when we meet, we can say, these are the things that people have asked for. I really, and I do like that, and maybe they can't actually physically come to it. And I think that's a great idea. I like the questionnaire for people experiencing homelessness. I think that's a great idea, and when hopefully they'd be willing to help us and provide some information. So my goal is before our next meeting is to have that questionnaire. I don't know if I can send it out early and get feedback on it. I'll work with Derek on that. And so when we come to the meeting, it's kind of final. And tonight, I guess I could ask if people were happy with the list of organizations I have here to invite to this listening session: the Bethel Missionary Baptist Church, Allen Friends Greater Victory Temple Church, Veterans Transition Center, Gathering for Women, Salvation Army, Community Partnership for Youth, iHealth, and the Village Project.
One question. Are you able to add to your list?
Oh, yes, if this is missing, please, this is just the.
Right, sounds good.
And then I also wanted to ask, so did we determine if we were gonna invite like Seaside Fire Department, Police Department as well, like some of the government organizations, or did you want to just focus on like the nonprofits?
I'm open to suggestions. I think I just thought of it today that maybe it would be nice to have, that they're also a group that might have something that they would want us to help petition the city council to do XYZ. I don't know what that XYZ is, but maybe they know what the XYZ is, because that's one of the opportunities we have as a commission, is to report to the city this XYZ thing was done. So I'm open to that. I don't know if we have to vote on it.
And those, and I can, from our partnerships with them, we do get outreach by those entities to engage homeless individuals, as they might, run into them in the community. So they'll be informed, as to some of the needs and challenges that they experience.
Do we have to have a motion to add, or can I just ask people to send it to Derek and Derek can send it to me and I'll add it to the spreadsheet?
That should be fine. I think the motion is to just go forward with, I guess, framework of your plans.
Okay,
And I believe we finalized it at our next meeting, and it would be next month, Derek, that we determine what date we would want to have this listening session there.
You can do that tonight if you want. It's really up to the commission, right? But if you want to, think on it a little bit and come back to the next meeting and then propose something, it's up to the commission.
In your experience, is it easier to do it like on a weeknight versus a weekday? I'm sorry. Yeah, weeknight versus weekday versus weekend. Like what has worked well based on what you've seen in the past?
So it's probably something like this, a weeknight, although
Them are really working at that.
yes, right,
Right,
and that's the
so it's
challenge,
nice,
and I mean, even for us, right, I think many entities, such as ours, are starting to be more in demand in the evening, and so may not have availability. So maybe a weekend would be good to hold this, and a Saturday. I think Sundays would be the more difficult, between folks going to church and getting ready for then the week to start, and so Saturday might be a good day.
Derek, what's the process for acquiring a city facility, like reserving a city facility? Is that if our time frame was April, and it'd probably have to be late April for me to attend. Would we need to look on the calendar now? Or can we? wait
Yes,
till
and
March?
I can do that. So as a, as the liaison between you and the city, I can request facility, rentals as it relates to the need. And so I can certainly submit that. And it would be better to do it now, as often, facilities across the city are being rented for all sorts of activities.
Okay, and is there a fee?
It wouldn't be related, not for the homeless commission, no.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Logistics, how long of a wait list would there be if we were to let them know, say tonight, we would like to reserve it in the coming weeks or months? Is there a wait list at the Meyer, the community center on Cohab?
So I would submit it, through the recreation department, and then they would let me know based off my submission, is there availability for that particular site or not, or that particular day, et cetera. And then I just continue to work with them to find the best option. But it had to be submitted during the workday. I wouldn't be able to submit it tonight, but.
And then would we expect as many commissioners as possible to attend this? Okay, so, looking at this list of organizations, plus it might be 30 people. I mean, it's not going to be 100 people. You can't listen to 100 people. That's just too many people. I mean, maybe if you have 200 people, but is anybody else think 30 is a reason? Just guessing, if we were to try to attempt on this, start the ball rolling tonight, would we ask for a space for 30 people? Well, and then, 30 including us? Or does somebody think it's a higher number, a lower number?
Maybe it'd be safer to say like 50, just in case the number grows in the meantime.
Okay. Maximum size 50.
Was there any further discussion on the motion for the listening session?
Can we do one motion to do a listening session to our providers and then do a separate motion for listening to or doing the spare? I mean, I can't remember what the motion was. Wasn't it two things?
It was that if the suggestion that we follow you, and then with the other suggestion that was laid on the table, that we entertain that as time permits.
So is that two motions or is it just one?
I believe it's just one motion to do the listening session as your framework is determined, and at a later date, at a later commission meeting, which we will discuss the other option that you were talking.
Phase two. Or something.
Yeah.
Can I just add one more thing, Linda, in the survey, it might be something to think about in terms of size of effort or size of request. Like if they're thinking about things that they need, it would be great to be able to ask them to size it from a potential dollar perspective. Yeah, something like that.
Small, medium, like your really big wish. I love that.
Because I think that'll help us isolate, like,
Right.
how doable is everything versus is there like a key target we want to put dollars toward or something?
So at this time, is there any further discussion of adopting the framework of Commissioner Cunningham's listening session? Seeing none, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the commission on this agenda item may do so for up to 3 minutes. Seeing none, all in favor of adopting Commissioner Cunningham's framework for the listening session, approving it, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Moving along to item C, review homeless advocacy organizations and nonprofits operating in the city of Seaside, serving at-risk and homeless students, and allocate up to $5,000 of the Homeless Commission annual budget to provide for the purchase of backpacks, school supplies, and clothing. So this was an item that I believe Commissioner Murray was working on, and he had to step down from the Homeless Commission. I did offer to assist Commissioner Murray in this matter, but I was not able to meet with him before he left the commission. So while I am still willing to help figure this out, I still need to do my research on which organizations and nonprofits are helping with homeless students and at-risk youth. So Derek, did you have anything you might want to add on this, or?
None at the moment, and certainly if you're requiring like a list or needing to be pointed in the direction of organizations that work with youth, I am informed, the city is informed, and our program can help with that as well. At least for the gathering behind the scenes, because we'll bring it back to the commission and discuss in a public format, once we have enough information to do so.
I'd like to point out, we've had some kind of interaction in giving to the community partnership for youth because it's on the organization spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have the contact information, so I don't know. if
I
that's-
have a contact. And you do too, obviously, Derek. Are the schools listed in your list? I know some of the schools they have food pantries. I don't know which schools they are, though. It would be great to be able to call them and get a sense of who potentially has a need, and I'm happy to help with that, but I don't know what schools have food pantries. I can't seem to find that information. Okay, that would be awesome, because I'm sure that would be wonderfully received from the schools.
Derek, is the gentleman still working over at the building at the Monterey Adult School on LaSalle? It's right kitty corner from the boys and the Girls and Boys Club. There was a gentleman that was doing stuff like he'd help them get shoes, sanitary products and. Yeah, and I can't think of his name. I know where his office is because when I volunteered the election, I saw him, said hi, I had some donations for him.
I have to find out, it might have been the last time I tried to see this. I was at home, I was unable.
Right. Right, I was gonna say that would be a resource too.
Right, so it might have been very set up, but.
Because I knew he had
Tried
a,
to reach out to him.
yeah,
Yeah, where it's-
right. So I make a motion, we need a motion for you to have time to work on the.
So I did have a question, and it was the same thing. It was forgive me, June or July when the next fiscal budget goes forward for the next fiscal year. So this would be something that we would have to determine within the next meeting or so. But I don't have, at this time, I don't have an exhaustive list of organizations.
Sure. Yeah, and I will, and you and I can, connect and I can help, provide, some a list of organizations and to outreach. And just as a reminder again, per me reaching out and putting out the dates of our meetings for this, through the rest of this year, 2023, our next meeting in March is scheduled to be Tuesday, March 28th.
Our next meeting.
Our next meeting, and it is our regular meeting. Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to table item C for a future meeting, which is review homeless advocacy organizations and nonprofits operating in the city of Seaside, serving at-risk and homeless students, and for the allocation of $5,000 homeless commission annual budget to provide purchase of backpacks, school supplies, and clothing?
I make a motion to table item 7C to the next meeting.
Very well. Do I have a second? Very well. Is there any further discussion from commissioners and staff to table item C?
Just for clarification, we hope to be able to have some information enough to make some sort of decision on this by next meeting. Okay.
Very well.
Okay.
Members of the public wishing to address tabling item C of the commission, you have up to 3 minutes to do so. For the record, please state your name. Seeing none, all in favor of tabling item C, reviewing homeless advocacy organizations and nonprofits operating in City of Seaside, serving at-risk and homeless students for $5,000 allocation for purchase of backpacks, school supplies, and clothing. For tabling item C, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Item C is tabled. Moving along, item D, discuss plans for further exploration of the feasibility of purchasing a 2-stall mobile hygiene unit to serve the unhoused in the community. So I know in past meetings, we had discussed that we would try and hold special meetings to address this because it is a pretty big ticket item. I guess I suppose, Derek, was there any updates of you getting access to either the binder or information from the binder from Chief Gutierrez regarding the mobile hygiene unit?
I'm still working on that. I know when we last explored this, one of the things that we wanted to try to plan as the next piece was to see if the organization that Commissioner Nash engaged with as this idea came up could come out and really break it down, because the first time around, right, we only got a general kind of, this is what it is, this is great, this is a great thing, and it really helps our community. But we really need to know, what does it take from start, right, to finish? Like literally the equipment, the resources, the budget, the people, right, and all of that, and needing them to help come and clarify that to some extent, and combine that with the information that I will get from the chief to the, as we are trying to decide what is the true feasibility of being able to do this. Yes.
And in light of that, I've had opportunity, we're dealing with Christmas. and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I did have an opportunity to talk to the facilitator. And we were at the point of trying to decide when we were willing to allow them to actually bring the vehicle in for physical unit exhibit. For us to set that up, they were willing to do that with the, I guess what you would call the only finances for the gas for the vehicle to come and go back for that there. And then they, in whatever date you were willing for them to give you the full overview of what it would take to run the vehicle. And it would be like two options, if I'm clear, which he will, make clarity on that when we set a date for him to come back and give us another overview. And if we'd like to do a special meeting for that, getting ready for whichever direction you want to take, he's willing to do that. All he needs to know is when you would like for him to do so. And in that, there's like two options that we can have. Either the city is going to undertake the full financial, burden of it, or there's other things that they can offer you to try to see that it will go forward. So it's two things that needs to happen. If you're interested in having the physical vehicle to come here, to set a date for that and to coordinate for that to transpire. Therefore, if it's the mayor or whoever else is the deciding individuals that have to, implement that to be there, then the deciding factors, we could have even these agencies and everything, making them aware that the vehicle will be here and this is what we're offering in the community, the local pastors, different individuals, because it does have to reside someplace once it is purchased and we're deciding to go forward. And that way it has more hands-on and more people are aware of what our intentions are of adding, a reasonable asset to the community that would help the unhoused in that way. And then, and maybe even before the vehicle actually got here, whichever one is feasible, is to set that date for him to give you the full breakdown on your options and what the full financial obligations will be, what it takes to run the vehicle, and how it brings employment to our community as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. That's great that they're willing to make the effort to actually bring the vehicle itself. Because I think it's hard to get a sense of, truly what it can offer unless you actually can see it. And I think,
Because this very components, you have this, I don't know, I'll almost say 500 gallon container that's sitting there. We're looking at water. There's so many aspects to it. That have to be
exactly.
considered. So to actually be able to physically look at it,
Mhm.
and it's an awesome machine.
Yeah, right. And it'll help to understand it versus someone telling us, oh, there's this component to it, there's this, and we're going, well, we can only sort of comprehend it, versus seeing it as well as getting explanation like here, this is the gas tank component or the water component, right? This is the laundry component, this is the shower component, and this is what each one, needs to operate and et cetera. Yeah.
So is there, what are the next steps? Should we just keep continuing discussing this at each meeting and discuss plans, or should we set a special meeting to discuss this?
So
If I could, what I would like to see happen is that we go ahead and set a point for a special meeting for him to give us the full breakdown. And in an interim of that, seeing what works for the city for us to bring this vehicle here for it to be seen tangible.
okay, yeah,
So we could just vote on that right now.
yes.
Okay. So do I have a motion on the table for approval of hosting a meeting regarding the financials of the mobile shower unit, as well as setting a date and time for visits where we can see this vehicle? No, I asked if there was did someone want to make a motion? Sorry, it's a little. Did someone want to make a motion on the mobile shower unit?
Well, I'll make a motion that we set the date for the financial assessment, as well as setting the date for when the exhibit of the vehicle can be presented.
Very well. Do we have any discussion on which dates would work or going forward, what order we would need to do this in?
I think we need to see the financials, how many people,
It takes
is
time.
Seaside gonna have to hire staff? Can Seaside even afford to hire staff? Is it gonna take a full-time Seaside employee? Where are we gonna store, I mean, there's just a lot of
Yeah, all of that
logistics.
components have to be done.
Yeah, and
It
I
has
have
to
to
be
do that
stored.
before. I mean, I wanna see the unit, of course, but before they go to that whole effort, let's just make sure this is even feasible. And it's hard to say it's feasible without having like a real plan, and to do that, I think we need to hear this presentation. And then I'm assuming somebody's gonna put a plan together. Is there gonna be a plan that we're gonna look at? Like, are we gonna have a written plan?
I'm quite sure that he's gonna bring that,
Mhm.
and he gives us a full overview of what it takes.
Okay, so it's like the overview
Because
gonna
they,
be like. a
this is
first-
already running in like Palo Alto.
Well, I understand that. I
No, no,
just-
what I'm just saying, so they have something already, to present, to let us know what is entailed to really facilitate, that type of project.
So are we gonna spend some of our presentation budget for them to come and do this presentation or?
No, this is gonna be via Zoom.
Oh, okay, so
Yes,
so it'd be a
it'll be
Zoom
via
presentation.
Zoom. He'll do it via Zoom as far as the breakdown for what you're looking for. And then should you decide that you still want to see the vessel, then the exhibit date will be set up according to the schedule.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and then would you want us to submit our questions before we have the Zoom meeting?
Right, that would be nice. Anything that you feel that's going to be questionable or give clarity to the project, let's bring our questions. Set the date when you want to have the special Zoom meeting with him, or him and his committee, and we'll go from there. Anything?
Okay, were we setting a date for the Zoom meeting? I'm sorry, I wasn't sure it was a Zoom meeting and what was being presented, so I apologize. You asked about comments about it. That's why.
Right. Actually, I'm not sure if we would actually pick the specific date today. We're just gonna move forward to determine that we want them to give us a financial assessment and then display the unit on Zoom.
And if I could make a suggestion, because it is predicated upon their availability, can we put it out? I'll find out what's
Yes.
available for him and then send it to you. And if we agree like we do for our typical meeting,
Mhm.
we'll set the date from there if that works.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so extend it, for we want it to make it convenient for them to be able to, participate. And so I like that idea of reaching out to them. What might work for you? We'll bring it back and then
We'll
we'll,
see if we'll-
yeah.
Very well. Any further discussion? Members of the public wishing to address this agenda item, you may do so for up to 3 minutes. For the record, please state your name. So moving along, all in favor to move forward to get a financial assessment and a tour of the mobile shower unit via Zoom. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion passes. All right, that concludes our main items for tonight's meeting. Are there any reports from commissioners at this time? Anything any individual commissioner wishes to report?
I would like to have a calendar. So I made an attempt, I think Derek sent out, if it's a spreadsheet, I'm not sure. This is a great way to do a calendar. I was really struggling with that. I could find a template. And essentially I just wanted to know, to document, these are the months we need to do certain things. Like if we're gonna give out backpacks again and we want to do it for the school year, like we have to have our act together before August. And I'm not sure the best way to have a calendar. I think there's annual things. Like the budget, we get a new budget, sounds like the new budget's in July. Maybe we have to make our budget request by May, that maybe we should be working on our budget in March. I need to see something. I can't figure out when we're supposed to be doing stuff. And I really am, like I said, it's not very good. It's not it's just a month and some lines, but I need something. And I don't know what other commissions do. Maybe we can just steal what other commissions do. Somebody must be keeping track of this. I'm struggling. That would just be something I would like to see as a way to know when we need to do what, so we're on time for when it's due.
Very well. Yeah, I do agree. Like a calendar and maybe even some kind of timeline that, you know, at the end of our like meeting notes or agenda, it'll say like actionable items. So April this, June, July this, August. So that way we can see in front of us when we need to do certain things or address certain.
That would
Events.
help me. I think that would help. I think it would help, yeah, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like.
Okay,
That's all.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like the idea of a calendar, and I think there's pieces we can partner between the commission and then us as the staff liaison for that, right? Because I'll know everything related to the annual stuff that's official to the commission, right? Like you're saying, like when do we have our budget submitted? When do we have to have our work plan items, you know, those types of things. But the commission really has to take the lead at deciding what actual items it wants to have and when it wants to do it, right? I can't tell you when to do that. And it's not, I shouldn't be telling you when to do that, right? That's, yeah. And then as the commission, you'll decide, as you know, what, when and how you can do certain things, right? Yeah, and so that'll be a good way to keep us organized together. Yeah.
Very well. Any more reports from commissioners? Do we have any reports from staff?
I don't have anything major to report. I did actually have a question as to the level of the commission being informed just about community events. Not necessarily that they're all or the central focus is on the homeless population, but it is to some degree an event that is supporting the health and wellness of the community and may cross that. Like, how much do you want to be informed of things that are happening, you know, versus feeling like, okay, you know, between life and the commission itself, and it's kind of a lot to try to, you know, navigate and take on, and too much information may be just that too much.
My opinion is that information is paramount.
Mhm.
So if it's something that's going on that we could be notified of, and if our schedule permits, we support it.
Right, got you. Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
fine with it.
Yeah, I definitely, you know, obviously this is a little bit, you know, down the way, but definitely wanted to make sure the commission's informed when we hold that community open house in June, for sure. But just so you are aware, let's see, do I have it? Okay,
Do we
yep.
want to be attendees at that event? Do we have a table? Do we want it? Do we need to add that to next month's agenda item to vote on if we want to be at that event? And like we would commit as commissioners to be at that event?
Yeah, and
We're
maybe,
talking, we're interacting, we're listening,
yeah, maybe it's just as guests, so then it allows you to have that freedom to network and just literally be there to, you know, build relationships and all of that, right? Versus if you're stuck behind a table, while you can do that to some degree, it's still limiting.
okay.
And then I think it kind of fulfills number 9 when you go to reports and staff, or when reports or anything that we want to share. We've been privileged to things that are happening in the community. Any of us attend, when we come to our personal, you know, committee meeting. If there's something we want to interject or share, then we do that then.
Yeah, certainly.
It works.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to be more involved and plugged in when we can and know about what's going on.
Okay, yeah. Well, I have then on that note,
All right.
I'll share my screen.
At Seaside City Council marathon session, 5 hours on Thursday. Somebody had a couple, yeah, they had like a couple slides, and Parent University is March 12th.
Yeah,
Or I think March 11th.
March 12th. Yeah, March 12th, it says here.
No. Oh. And it's here?
It'll be at,
Seaside High.
sorry, the wrong one. I have the 2023, my bad. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a different year. Wait a minute. Hold on, let me,
I'm gonna be out of town, but we should be handing out the calkids.org information.
they will. Yes, that I've already saw flyers for
All
that.
right, thank you, Derek. The king of flyers,
Yeah, right.
copy machine or buddies.
Do we have any more reports from staff?
Not at this time. I just appreciate that you all were able to make it tonight. That again, we're able to take some course of action as we will be providing the rest of that food insecurity RP funds out to organizations in need. There was quite a lot of positive feedback. I passed along some letters from the organizations that did receive some funds. I know they're very appreciative. And I think this is how we continue to grow our efforts and show the benefit and effectiveness of this body, as it relates to the work it's doing for the community. So thank you all.
Thank you. We're at the end of our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn this February 21st meeting of the Homelessness Committee.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, nay. I'm not saying nay, I was saying all opposed, say no. The meeting's adjourned.
I'm so glad I just was gonna do some way out my heart that we just put knocking on my house.
Yeah.
I was trying to pull out the staple on the thing in the middle of the meeting and I gave up.